I recently spent 2 weeks in South Korea traveling to Seoul, Gyeongju, Busan, and Jeju Island. I would like to share 8 things I think you should know before traveling to this beautiful and fascinating country. In this video, I will cover the logistics of getting around the city, as well as share some places to go if you are interested in experiencing K-pop culture. Number 1, money. I was able to use my American Express card just about everywhere I went. The only time I had a problem was when they wouldn't take any foreign credit card at all. Otherwise, I had no issues, though I have heard some travelers have had trouble using Visa. If you will be using public transport, it is a good idea to purchase a cash card or T-card, which you can purchase at any convenience store. They charge a minuscule amount for the card, but you get a small discount on public transport when you use it. You have to load the card with cash, not a credit card. The convenience store clerk told me to put 15,000 won on the card for 3 days in Seoul, and I used almost exactly that much. If you do put too much money on your card, you can get almost all of it back, minus a small fee. You can also use these cards at many businesses, although I preferred to use my credit card so I could accumulate points. I had heard that I should have cash on me because some businesses are cash only. However, during the 2 weeks I was in South Korea, I was only required to use cash a couple of times, and it was in a market where I was purchasing fruit or food items from a local vendor. So it probably depends on where you are going, but I rarely was required to use cash. Number 2, transportation. The public transportation is fabulous. There are buses, subway, taxis, and trains. I had downloaded the Kakao T taxi app prior to arriving in Korea, but never used a taxi. If you plan to use them, it is advisable to download this app. There are Uber taxis, but they are not as prevalent. The subways are generally the quickest way to get somewhere, followed by buses, then taxis. The reason buses are often faster than taxis is that they have their own lanes, so can bypass traffic congestion. And in Seoul, there is always traffic. I discovered quickly that Google Maps does not work well in Korea. It would only give me transit or walking directions, but never both, and it would often just stop working. I had downloaded the Naver Map app because I heard it worked better, and that was true. I used it effortlessly throughout my stay. I preferred to take the bus over the subway because it allowed me to take in the sights along the way and track my stops on the bus by following the Naver Map app. The bus usually took a little longer than the subway. For longer or more complicated distances, I use the subway trains. Just know that the Naver app will not be able to track you once down in the subway. So once it gives you directions above ground, keep the app open or take a screenshot of the direction so you know where to get off. I spent very little on transportation by using the public transit. Now there is one more thing you should know about traveling. Incheon Airport, where most international travelers arrive, is very far away from downtown Seoul. My travel agent pre-booked a ride from the airport to my hotel. I arrived in Seoul during rush hour, and it took over 2 hours to get to my hotel. It took about 80 minutes to get back when there wasn't as much traffic. I share this because I think it would be better to take the train from the airport to Seoul Station. There is a 45-minute express train, which would be much faster, especially if you arrive during rush hour. It could save you time and money. Of course, your choices might depend on how much luggage you are hauling. Taking public transit with too much luggage might not be worth the savings. And a little more info on buses. When you enter a bus, you scan your cash card, and it automatically deducts the fare and shows you the amount left on your card. When you want to get off of a bus, you have to push a stop button prior to your stop, and then scan your card again when you exit. I didn't understand this initially and was only scanning on the way in until a bus driver explained it to me. Also, sometimes the bus platforms are in the middle of the road. I was confused a few times by the app's walking directions to the platform until I discovered that it was having me cross to the middle of a road, not to the other side. Number 3, garbage. There are very few public garbage cans. I think I saw one during my entire stay in Korea. So make sure you pack a bag with you to keep your trash in until you have a chance to discard it, which will most likely be your hotel room. Now, if you eat at a small food cart or stall and eat the food right there, They will throw your trash away for you, but if you wander away, then you will have to keep your trash with you. Number 4, walking. Walking paths vary greatly throughout Korea. When visiting temples, you can count on climbing numerous stairs. Especially in historical areas, you have to be very careful of uneven surfaces. Sometimes an area would be entirely flat except for some random 2-inch stair. I know I stumbled a couple of times because I was looking at something and didn't notice a short drop. Also, when going into the subway, there are some escalators, but more often than not, there are 3 or 4 levels of stairs to climb up and down. For those with mobility limitations, buses and taxis are probably the better option. Number 5, toilets. After coming from Japan, where the toilets were clean and easy to find, I discovered that wasn't quite the case in Korea. I found it a little more difficult to locate them, especially in outdoor market areas. The one place I could always locate them was the subway station. Of course, you have to go down and up some stairs, but it always had toilets. I did try using the Toilet Finder app, but it directed me to some private locations, so I stopped using it. Now, when you walk into a public toilet, sometimes the toilet paper is on the outside of the stall rather than the inside, so make sure you check before relieving yourself. Also, I thought it was so great the way they had stalls for parents with children. They were usually at the front of the bathroom, and you were expected to only use those if no others were available. Also, check this out. This is a toilet in Seoul Tower. It has to be one of the best views from a toilet ever. 6. Communication. Before I arrived, I had heard that it is not difficult to communicate in Korea because almost everyone speaks some English and most signs are in English and Korean. I learned this is mostly true. Yes, many establishments had both English and Korean signage, but not always, and many times menus were only in Korean. I used the Google Translator app often. I could just point my phone camera on the text and the app would translate it for me. As for Korean-speaking English, the hotel front desk clerks and restaurant waitstaff were especially great. Bus drivers, not so much. And when I got off the beaten path, it was more pointing and gesturing. But throughout my stay, I was able to communicate without too much difficulty. If I did run into a problem, Google Translator was my friend. All in all, I felt it was an effortless trip in terms of communication. Number 7, coffee, coffee, and coffee. I have never seen so many coffee shops in one city than in Seoul. Cafe culture is definitely thriving here. And if you think there are a lot of Starbucks in the US, consider that South Korea has plenty of Starbucks too, and twice as many independent shops. Just about every big building in Seoul had several on the ground floor. Most of the stores advertised coffee and desserts, so I had bypassed these stores at the beginning of my trip because I don't drink coffee and avoid desserts. However, I walked into a coffee shop when it was the only store around and discovered some wonderful sandwiches and salads. Now, not all of them offer these, but many do. I found they were a great place to go for inexpensive, quick eats. Number 8, the Korean wave. For those of you who have not heard of the Korean wave, let me explain. Over the past decade, Korean pop culture and Korean dramas have become internationally popular. In particular, the K-pop group BTS has become a global phenomenon, beating countless music chart records, including those of the Beatles. They have a fan base called ARMY, which is massive and hyper-dedicated. If you've never seen BTS, I'll leave links to a couple of their videos in the description. At one point, BTS generated 3% of the Korean economy. Now, there are many K-pop groups that are enjoying international fame. Meanwhile, Korean television and movies became globally admired, which was highlighted by the Academy Award for the film Parasite and the highly successful Netflix series Squid Game. So Korean music and drama have become a worldwide sensation and have boosted South Korea's economy and international visibility. And consequently, South Korea's tourism has exploded. There are many who go to South Korea to get a dose of the culture that inspired this trend. So if you are going to South Korea for that reason, here are 4 places you will want to visit if you are interested in K-pop. Number 1, K-Star Road, which features these little statues, each dedicated to a different K-pop group. K-Star Road runs for several blocks through a high-end shopping area of the Gangnam district. 2, the Gangnam-style statue near Codex Mall. Number 3, the Myeongdong Night Market in Seoul, which has all sorts of K-pop paraphernalia marketed to tourists. And number 4, if you are going to Busan, there is a mural of 2 BTS members, Jimin and Jungkook, who grew up there. Those are the K-pop places I observed during my travels. If you know of other places, please share in the comments section. Of course, there are also public ads which use idols and actors on huge marquees and billboards. Perhaps the most fun and visceral experience I had was on my last day in the country. I saw some student dancers busking on Hongdae Street in Seoul. They were having so much fun it was contagious. And it was one of the only times I really connected the people of Seoul with the international Korean wave phenomenon. Also, I'd like to add that the Korean people I spoke with took great pride in their country and are happy the world is taking notice of their cultural exports. So hopefully this information will help you if you are planning a trip to South Korea. If you have been there and have other advice, please share in the comments section. As always, if you have questions, feel free to ask or join the new Facebook travel forum. I have left a link to it and other South Korean videos in the description below. And if you'd like to follow my senior and solo travel journeys, please like and subscribe. Cheers!